Hi everyone, my name is Tanya. Welcome back to my channel about fiber art. In today's video I'm going to show you how I made my vest. I have talked about it in my podcast about winter sewing and I'm going to give a quick recap about it. So I had a small piece of linen from my mother-in-law and it was not enough for something big like a dress or not even enough for a skirt. So I decided to make a vest. I checked in Google the difference between a vest and waistcoat. So a vest is apparently something that you can put not only on top of another piece of clothing, but also independently. So in my case, it's a vest because in summer I plan to wear it independently without any other blouse underneath. I had a small piece of forest green linen from my mother-in-law. I wanted to use it for something special and I bought a very nice colorful viscose for the lining. The vest is fully lined. The buttons look vintagey and nice, but they are actually plastic buttons from our local shop. The vest has a tie in the back, and I did not have any specific pattern for this one. So in the video I'm going to show you how I took a pattern of a dress with princess seams and turned it into a vest. For my project I have chosen a pattern of a dress with princess seams. Mine is from Border Style magazine. I own this magazine from almost the very beginning of my sewing journey, so it's like from 2013 or something. But you can choose absolutely any dress pattern with princess seams. I'm going to leave the back pieces unchanged. The only difference, I'm going to of course cut them shorter because it's a vest, not a dress. And I'm going to change the neckline in the front central piece and add a placket, and I'm going to change the bottom line of the central pieces, both of them, to make that kind of a shape of a corner of the vest. So I'm going to show you all of my manipulations step by step in the video. I hope you will enjoy it, and let's get started.
First I added a placket. I have added half of its width to the right and to the left of the original center line. Then I altered the neckline to make it more like a V-shaped and reduced the shoulder width from the side of the neckline by 1 inch. I've chosen the length of my vest to be 9 cm down from the waistline. When the vest is assembled, the front should be shaped into this kind of corner, so to model that I have split the central front piece into half and dropped it perpendicular from this point down by approximately 2 inches. The side of the central piece I have extended by 1 inch, so originally there were 9 centimeters from the waistline and it became 9 centimeters plus 1 inch. And I just drew straight lines to the center of the vest and to the side of the central front piece. Therefore I had to extend the side front piece by 1 inch. So the seams that form princess lines in the front are extended by 1 inch. In the back piece I haven't made any alterations except the shoulder width, which is reduced by 1 inch to match the front. I haven't made any changes to the armholes yet. Instead I have decided to make a sample out of some scrap fabric and then see on the dress form and on myself how it looks and how I have to alter them. I cut the pattern pieces out of some old bedsheet fabric. I make sure I mark everything, even the direction of the grain. have assembled the vest from scrap fabric and now I'm trying it on my dress form. First thing I'm seeing is that the neckline does not fit very well, so I'm going to remove this extra fabric and form some sort of a dart. After I stitch this dart, the neckline curvature will be different and hopefully it will fit better. The next thing I'm seeing is that the vest is quite loose under the bust, so I'm trying to pin the extra fabric into the princess lines under the bust. I haven't added any seam allowance in the armholes and I think I'm gonna keep it this way, and I didn't add any extra to the length. It kind of feels too long for me, but I'm going to keep it this way and I'm gonna correct it if needed after I try it on myself. On top of the back I have pinned extra fabric into the central seam. And I have pinned some extra fabric into the princess lines near the armholes. After making all the necessary corrections to my pattern, I have ripped the sample vest open and cut out the pattern pieces both from the main and lining fabrics. Now I am assembling the front and the back of the vest separately. After that I am planning to pin the shoulder seams and the side seams and to try the vest on me and on my dress form. By the way, I have reinforced all the front pieces with a fusible interfacing. On the back of the vest I've used a fusible interfacing only around the neckline and the armholes. I have cut extra seam allowance with zigzag scissors and pressed it. Since this seam is very curved, especially in the front, I used my ironing cushion to do that. Before I assemble the princess lines in the back, I have prepared two ties. They are approximately half an inch wide when ready. I am going to stitch them to the central piece of the back around the waistline. I have pinned the shoulder and side seams, and I'm seeing that I need to make some corrections around the armholes in the princess lines. And I have to remove some extra fabric in the central seam on top of the back. Now it is time to work on the lining. First of all, I'm going to attach the facing to the back of the lining. I place the facing on top of the central piece and I'm tracing the edge of the facing. Then I'm adding a seam allowance and cut the lining along this line. First I pin and then stitch the facing to the lining, and then I repeat all the same steps for the front facing and front lining. I have already sewn shoulder seams on the main and lining fabric pieces. Now I'm going to start attaching the lining to the main part of the vest. This has to be done with open side seams. First I will pin the lining and the main part of the vest along the neckline. I cut extra seam allowance, press the seam and cut some notches around the curvature of the neckline. And now I'm going to top stitch around the neckline, thus attaching the seam allowance to the front and back facings. This is how my top stitching looks like. Now I am just going to fold along the neckline and press. Now I'm going to work on the armholes. First I evened out the edges. Now I'm going to turn the vest wrong side out and pin the edges together so that the lining is sticking out by approximately 1/4 inch or 5 millimeters. This is important because in this way the lining will be a little bit smaller, and when we turn the vest right side out, the lining will stay in and it will not stick out through the edges. After the armholes are sewn, I can cut extra seam allowance. But before that, I prefer to turn the vest right side out and check if everything is right and if the lining is indeed stays inside and not sticking out at the edges around the armholes. Everything seems to be correct, and unfortunately we cannot top stitch around armholes, so I'm going to baste this edge by hand and then press it. Finally, I pin the side seams together, starting from the lining, connecting the point under the arm, and then pinning together the side seams on the main fabric. And then I stitch. It is important to leave an opening in one of the sides in the lining, approximately 6 centimeters or 2.5 inches wide. Then I put the vest on my dress form, pin the right side and the lining together at the princess seams and trim extra lining at the bottom. Now I turn the vest wrong side out like this and start pinning the corresponding seams of the lining and the main fabric at the bottom of the vest. Just like I did it for the armholes, the lining here is sticking out by approximately 5 millimeters. Then I flip the entire vest right side out through the opening in one of the side seams of the lining and press the bottom seam. At last it is time for buttons and buttonholes. I am making my buttonholes almost completely by hand. First I mark the length of the button with my friction pen, and then stitch a frame around the buttonhole using 1.5 mm stitch length. Then I cut the buttonhole inside the frame. And then using 2 strands of DMC cotton, I overlock the edges of the frame, placing the stitches very close to each other. At the end I make a knot and hide the thread tail inside the stitches. I pull the thread twice through both edges to make the buttonhole stronger.